Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, September 8th, and in order to preview Mizzou football's matchup against Middle Tennessee State, we had to bring in another expert. We had Wendell Shepard on last time, who works for the Columbia Missourian. Now we brought in who some are calling the Benedict Arnold of the Columbia Missourian because he switched sides on us. He was Columbia Missourian. He's now with the Tribune. I'm just kidding. I had to get that in because Kenny Payton and I, along with Wendell, we had last week, all were on the Columbia Missourian. But no, we're very, very, very excited. Special guest, recurring guest. I think last time he was on, it was just me and him. I think Peyton and Kenny were both gone. So Calum McAndrew is joining us from the Columbia Daily Tribune. He's their Mizzou beat writer. Calum, thank you for coming. Glad you don't have to do as much work because Peyton and Kenny decided to actually show up this time. But welcome back to the show. We're excited to have you back.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think last time I talked too much for not enough money, so that's good.
Yeah, no money, literally no money. We can't pay guests. We have no funding. But yeah, so we're excited to have you back. Of course, you're with the Tribune now. You've been pretty new to that beat, but been covering Mizzou football and everything else. So let's we'll get started, get rolling. Middle Tennessee State this week, and I want to just broaden things out. Go back to South Dakota. Of course, the Tigers winning that game. What were your impressions having been there? What you saw in week one?
I thought it was a really, really efficient performance for week one. Jumping back to last year, there wasn't quite the theatrics of the Louisiana Tech game, but for Kirby Moore's first game as offensive coordinator, I thought they showed exactly what they needed to. They didn't really, didn't open up the playbook. Whether they will later in the season, we'll see. But I thought they were efficient in the run game. The offensive line looked a ton better. If that's what's to come and they can remain that efficient, I think that's a good sign. Blake Baker and his defense, exactly what we thought was going to happen. They are extremely good. So I thought all round, if there wasn't any fireworks, there weren't any explosions, it was an efficient win. It was kind of just what they really needed to put on the board in week one.
And I know the quarterback battle is going to be a conversation we're going to have a little bit, in the show. But looking at Brady Cook, you saw him all last season. We know he played through an injury. You might mention a little bit about that shoulder here in a second. Did he look more comfortable to you, comparing it to last year?
I think so. I mean, he definitely looked more comfortable because he was upright the whole game. There was no point where he was like just getting absolutely bodied. So I think inherently more comfortable there. But it's tough to say. It's no offense to our neighbors to the north, but it was South Dakota. It's tough to tell. It's tough to really say they are not even that great an FCS team. But I think he did exactly what he needed to do. I can't remember how many passes he completed in a row. I think it was up at sort of 12, 13 range. He looks more comfortable. He looks like he's less injured than he was last season. And didn't even really have to force the run game at any point, which I thought was interesting. You saw so many times, especially in the bowl game last year, where it just looked like he was running for his life. And sometimes he would manage to pick up something off of that. Sometimes he would just get absolutely flattened. So I think there's just an air of comfortability on the offense as a whole. Whether that is Brady Cook's feeling right now, we'll see, I guess.
One of the other things I think that came out of that game, Mevis, he missed 2 field goals again. He had some moments of shakiness last year, particularly against another FCS opponent in Abilene Christian. Is there any concern you think, or should there be any concern around him maybe, or is it just a hiccup early on?
Yes and no. Anytime somebody misses their first 2 field goals of the season, and they're changing their long snapper this week. They had a freshman out. They've got a freshman holder. I think there's maybe a little bit more concern on that side of things. But anytime someone misses 2 field goals, that PAT was a flat-out duck hook that got called back, luckily for him. But that has to be cause for concern. Where I'm not as concerned on that front is that if you can find a more confident person in the country than Harrison Mevis, I don't want to meet them, but it's he has his process, he has his routine, he's very meticulous about the way he approaches his job. And we saw it last year after the Auburn game. He was mostly good after that disaster. I would expect something similar this season. I would not expect them to change kickers at any point. I think that would be a nigh on insane decision. But I think if anyone's going to right the ship, it's him. And I think if they're experimenting with their holders, Brady Cook has even been holding at some points in training camp. You might see that at some point. If there's anyone that's going to fix it, I would say it's Harrison Davis.
I want to turn to the defense. I know you mentioned like Blake Baker, kind of continuing to shine in game one, and I know it is South Dakota, but any particulars on that side of the ball? I know Peyton and I after the game we mentioned Johnny Walker had a really good outing. Anyone that else that maybe stood out to you there in game one?
Yeah, I mean, Tyron Hopper is the Terminator. He is just a frighteningly good linebacker. I thought he barely even began to show what he's capable of. Just watching him in training camp, that guy is in for a huge year. I don't think they really needed him against South Dakota, but whenever they did, he was there. Marvin Burks was awesome for his first game. Marvin Burks was absolutely excellent. That made a thud. He's fast. Coaches are raving about him. I think it looks like JC Carlisle will be coming back this week from what we can tell. I saw him at practice on Tuesday, so his reps might get a little bit more limited, maybe more on special teams, but he's in for a big future and probably a 4-year future. It looks like he's going to burn a red shirt at some point. I think we could probably see a little bit more out the corners. I think they were good. I don't think they were really tested all that much, but I think there's probably more to come out of that side of the ball. But all round, just a really efficient performance. I mean, Johnny Walker in his first start, he's been waiting for that for best part of half a decade. He really, really impressed everyone. I think Darius Robinson as well, getting out from tackle at the end. I thought he had a pretty efficient first day. I mean, a lot of positives there, a lot of depth. I mean, you could rattle off 40 names, I think, that could all potentially contribute at some point this year.
Yeah. And the depth too. I mean, looking at the depth chart right now, there's a lot of freshmen on it. A lot of guys from the 2023 class, and Shamar McNeil. You mentioned Marvin Burks, Philip Roche. I mean, looking back at last year, a lot more transfers are coming in. DJ Coleman was on that team. He was a 5th year, 6th year. What are the coaches? What are they saying about a lot of these freshmen who are stepping up and already on the depth chart, only a couple months into their college careers?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the coaches as well. You talk about guys like Shamar McNeil. Dennis Reichshaw was raving about him through camp. Really, really impressed with what he saw. I think it speaks volumes to how they've recruited, and I think it also speaks volumes to how much depth that they have at other positions as well, that they can bring in guys that maybe aren't tried and tested at times. I think when you look at bringing Marvin Burks, you've got Joseph Charleston next to him. Any mistakes there, you've got somebody that's experienced and covered. I don't think you're ever going to see 4 or 5 freshmen on the field at the same time unless they're up 45-0 this weekend. It speaks volumes to how well they've been able to retain their class. It speaks volumes to how they've recruited, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think that they have the luxury of being able to bring guys like that into game situations. And it speaks volumes to how good some of these guys are, especially Marvin Burks. He was great.
Want to switch back. Gotta ask about the handling of the QB competition. It's the hot button issue. Last week, obviously, we know Brady Cook has been named the starter. They still plan on getting Horn some reps whenever they can. Drink did make it seem like it was a competition before last week. But then Cook plays the full first half, gets 21 attempts. Sam Horn gets 5. A lot of people, myself included, I thought it was handled poorly. But how did you kind of think that was handled? Were you fine with it, or did you think it was kind of handled, maybe botched in the handling? Or
yeah, I mean, that's tough to say. I mean, if you expect college football coaches to tell you the truth 24/7, you're insane. You're an insane person. That's the most ludicrous thought I've ever heard. Whether this was as much of a competition as it was made out to be I'm very doubtful. I think I've reported on all training camp that It has never looked like it was going to be anyone other than Brady Cook. It was always Connor Tollis and snapping to him. It was always Brady Cook running with the ones. Every single time somebody spoke about Brady Cook, it was nothing but commendations and laudations. It was, it was sunshine and roses. He got voted a captain for the second straight time. Even after the game when the competition was allegedly still going on, I mean, that was a step removed from a love letter from Drinkwitz when he was talking about him. That's it. There has been no sign at any point that I think anyone, if you've been following coverage, I don't think there's any point where it's looked like it's going to be anyone other than Brady Cook. I think they had to give Sam Horn a chance. I think that had to happen at some point. But I don't think for the team where it is right now, and I understand people's frustrations, everyone's favorite person on the team's backup quarterback. I don't think Sam Horn's ready to take that role right now. I think Brady Cook is the most suited. I've been looking at things like the US Ryder Cup team right now. I don't know how much you guys follow that, but I'm a golf nerd. Justin Thomas hasn't been playing well. He got picked as the last guy into the Ryder Cup because he is the best person for that team. Not necessarily because he's the best golfer on the planet right now, but because he's the best team member. And I think that's a very similar situation to what's going on right here. I think every single person on that team loves Brady Cook. I think every single person on that team trusts Brady Cook. And I think that's showing. And I think that showed after week one how much they trust him to take this team forward. Whether he's the best quarterback on the team or not, that's not for me to say. I don't get to watch every single rep of practice. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of hours of film and practice to sit through. I don't have Kirby Moore. I don't have offensive analysts or gurus anywhere. That's not for me to say. But I think they trust him the most. Whether they've handled it the best, I'm sure fans can feel a little bit slighted on that front, that they've been led to believe that this was more of a competition than it was. But I think they have probably made the correct decision.
I like that Justin Thomas comparison.
There you go.
That's a good shout. Yeah. But I do kind of want to ask, because I think you make a really good point, and I think that's kind of the feeling of the three of us have had all off season, was that it did seem like it was Brady Cook's job. He did seem like the best person for this team. That said, I'm curious your thoughts maybe on how Drinkwitz did kind of handle that for you guys, for like the media. I know Peyton kind of criticized his comments after the game. There was a little bit of a feeling that he maybe threw Sam Horn under the bus. There's obviously the comment you a little bit alluded to that went viral about, Brady Cook and what he said with his daughters, which was wild. But, I'm curious, how can that kind of maybe affect in your eyes, the, feeling that Sam Horn maybe has on his outlook, in being that future guy, whether, when it is his time to step up, or could there maybe be some skepticism creeping in there? I don't know. Maybe just your thoughts on how Drinkwitz kind of handled that to the media.
I don't know. First things on the daughter thing is, it's no different than every single college football coach that's ever said he's the type of guy you want your daughter. Like, that's a big nothing burger for me. That was. I mean, I don't know. It was said weirdly, but I don't think there's anything behind that. I did go write your opinions, as if the guys from the PD and the Kansas City Star weren't going to anyway. I did enjoy that a lot. I thought that was kind of funny. The way he handled it, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think the bigger deal might be, we've heard now that Sam Horn is still going to play a series here and there. If that doesn't happen, maybe that's a little bit more of a bug in Sam Horn's ear that this isn't going to happen sometime soon. It's tough. Part of this job is obviously reporting what the coach says, which has been that there is going to be a quarterback competition. But you've also got to really use your critical judgment a little bit here as well. And there was no sign that was ever really the case. Yes, Sam Horn was in there. Yes, he did play the second half, but there was no real point that it looked like it was going to be anyone other than Brady Cook. So I for one don't need a coach to tell me the truth all the time. That's not their job. That's not their prerogative. That's not in their best interest. So that how he handled it, I mean, it doesn't put me up or down. I don't think it should really bother fans all that much, but I can see why it might.
Sure. Kind of moving on from the quarterback conversation. I know we kind of beat it to death now. What are some so I mean, we know who the big offensive, standouts are. Who are some guys that maybe we're not really looking at yet that coaches are talking about, players are talking about on the offense side of the ball that could really contribute this season?
I don't know. I think they've kind of gone through all those people ad nauseum. I think some of the guys that you'll probably see a little bit more of as the season goes on are the tight ends. I think Brett Norfleet and Jordan Harris are going to have a big role to play, whether that's his pass catchers, whether that's his blockers. I mean, Brett Norfleet had a great game as a blocker on Thursday. I thought he was absolutely excellent. Jordan Harris is a big body, he's got good hands as well. So I think we'll see a little bit more out of them. At some point, I would expect to see a little bit. I think Theo Wees played every single snap on Thursday. I think he played every single offensive snap, which is, I wouldn't expect to see that going forward. They definitely trust him. They definitely value his experience and his talent. But I think at some point you're going to get some 4 receivers in there with guys like Dennis Jackson, Peanut Houston, quick guys like that they can maybe try the deep ball a little bit more than they would be able with who they had on the field. I think they've really kind of covered it, though. I think what you see is what you're going to get on the offensive side of the ball. I think they know who their skill players are. I think they know who their ones are. They know that their best option right now is to rotate Schrader and Pete. Might see Jamal Roberts at some point. He had a good camp, but I think what you've seen is more or less what you're going to get this year.
And kind of building off that tight end question real quick, Ryan Horskamp was a big name at the end of last season, especially with that long touchdown pass. He's not even on the depth chart now. I mean, did he kind of just fall off?
I guess so. I mean, the depth chart never lies, right? That's that or between Brady Cook and Sam Horn's name was That's no, I don't know. I think they just believe that they have better options now. I don't know. You get these 2 freshmen in that are pretty highly touted. I think that's what you run with at this point. I think that's, other than that catch, it's tough to say. I, once again, haven't studied Ryan Horskamp's film because I have a life. I'm not sure. I think they're pretty pleased with what they're running with. I think Tyler Stevens will be the one, but they've got those 2 guys in there, and then that's more or less probably going to be it.
So now going into this weekend, they've got Middle Tennessee State, who,
Mhm.
while should still be a win, is a step up from South Dakota, I think everyone would say.
Yes,
but
100%.
But what is something maybe you want to see? I know you mentioned the offense and defense. You used the word efficient for their performance for both,
Mhm.
but they didn't maybe have any firework, exciting big plays. Is that something maybe we should want to see this weekend, or what's something you're kind of looking for against Middle Tennessee?
I think they're almost going to be forced into it this weekend. Power Mizzou's Gabe Garmond asked Drinkwitz on Tuesday, have we seen your scheme? Are you hiding anything? And Drinkwitz said no. But he also said earlier that, Middle Tennessee likes to load the box. They like to bring the blitz. And that's going to put a lot of time pressure on Brady Cook. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the offensive line. They're not going to be able to pound the ground with Cody Schrader or Nate Pete because they are going to be picking up blitzes. So they're going to be forced to move the ball fast, and they're going to be forced to move. They'll have opportunities to move the ball far as well. So I would expect to see that a little bit more this time around. I think that's I've got a lawnmower going right by me there. I don't know if you can hear that. That's great.
Sorry,
timing.
Kenny's dog sometimes invades the pod. We don't.
All right. Well, I mean, I would rather that than the lawnmower. That sounds great. That's no, I would expect to see something a little bit different, just because I think they're going to be forced into it at some point. I think that's also what fans want to see before K-State come to town. I think they want to see that, hey, we can do this. We're not just gonna put Cody Schrader in the flat and hope that he gets 8 yards. I think that's something that they're gonna have to show at some point, and I think that's something that they're probably going to be forced into at some point on Saturday, because Middle Tennessee are going to bring it, and they're going to bring it hard.
I asked Wendell this last week about South Dakota, but is there anyone in particular on Middle Tennessee State? I don't know if you've looked into them too much to keep an eye on. If not, obviously, it is the Blue Raiders.
That's right. That's I don't know. Last time they were here, they won on homecoming. So
Yeah. They got the good mojo.
I don't know. Rick Stockstill's been there forever. They like to go fast. They like to throw the ball. They didn't give Alabama much of a run for the money, but nor will most teams. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I missed this just as when your last answer you were giving to Peyton, but did you say that you guys do talk to Kirby more or do not?
We haven't yet. I would expect it at some point in the season. I went down to Tiger Talk on Tuesday against my better judgment to hear Kirby Moore, but obviously you don't get an opportunity to ask questions there or anything. So most of that's kind of just box standard answers. I believe at some point in the season we'll get a chance to talk to the coordinators, but we haven't through the first 2 weeks.
Yes, you haven't even talked to Baker as well.
Not since the start of camp. Not since they reported on July 30th.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
Maybe a minute.
All right, segueing away kind of from just the straight hard football questions. I know a couple weeks ago you tweeted, "Don't ever ask me about uniforms." Well, I'm going to ask you about uniforms.
Oh no!
Call the police. Okay.
Oval. Oh, I'm putting you on the spot. Oval, Tiger, or Block M, Calum?
Where is the hang-up button on here? Where is this? Look, my position on this cannot be more clear. Every single story I've written, I believe. Every time it goes on social media, every time it goes on Facebook, someone that has been alive since the Titanic sank comments, "What is up with the script? What is up with these cartoon sailors?" And I'm tired of it. I don't need it anymore. I hate them, and I hate uniform discussion. It's up there with having to pay to subscribe. People complaining about that. I despise it, and I refuse to engage.
That's fair.
That's a good answer.
Don't
watch
that said, the all black uniforms are pretty cool.
Don't watch the segment after this if you don't want uniform.
Yeah. We'll cut. We'll let Peyton do his uniform review without Calum. We'll free Calum of the burden of that. But Calum, this has been awesome. Thanks a ton for coming on. Any other you're on the just Mizzou beat in general. I know Oh, actually I wanted to ask you about recruiting. We had that as the little segment because we had Elias Williams, who, if I am not mistaken, I feel like I've heard his name been linked to Mizzou for a while. But he went in and committed, or am I dumb? Wait.
He committed.
Yeah. Sorry, he committed. He committed, and he's a 3-star edge. Do you know much about him? Pate, you can weigh in here too if you want. I don't know why his name was familiar to me when I saw that he committed, but another one for Drink.
No, the only thing, he's the guy. He was the 5th guy from Florida, right?
Yes.
I think that's. I mean, that's more or less my only takeaway there is that they've, out of their 15 players, 33% of them are from Florida. I think they must be having some success down there. Don't know a whole lot about him. Recruiting is not really the name of my gig. So that's fortunately can't add much on that front. Looks like he might have been one of the guys that was down there at that Black and Gold weekend, or I can't remember what they called it.
The big one,
heavy recruiting weekend.
Yeah. Do you have any take? I know it's not your specialty, but just, I know you mentioned some of the young guys getting in, but just on the excitement of for fans and stuff to see Williams Winery obviously has been the huge one. And just has Drink maybe talked about that or made comments about that to people's questions on how he's, been recruiting?
This is the common mistake. It happens every year. Coaches aren't allowed to talk about commits.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They sign their paperwork. So no comments there. I was at the NIL signing. Goodness, when was that? About 2-3 weeks ago, when Governor Parson signed that into effect. It was weird though. They had all the basketball commits there, and I don't think any of them are from Missouri. So they weren't able to benefit from what the main thing that the law brought. Dennis made a good joke about Eli's jumping at Kevin Peoples' arms. Parson asked if Drinkwitz could dunk. Gates said he can touch the net. I thought that was funny.
That's good.
That was my main takeaway from that. That was
Yeah, it's an interesting law too, because for the kids in Missouri, from what I've read, it seems like it gives them like a big edge. So that's
I've really enjoyed. Oklahoma fans seeming to think that wearing gloves matters more than potentially $1 million. I've really enjoyed that. That's a really funny take.
And Mizzou fans similarly freaking out about that. And that's all they really want to know. That might join your ranking with hating about uniform and subscription discussions if people start commenting that.
Oh, if it's funny, I'm all for uniform discussion. That's
fair. Yeah,
you should do your own uniform review. You tell us what you're wearing to the game, like before, like on Thursday. Post an picture of your outfit on your bed.
The outfit you're gonna wear,
and then put like emojis
garage photo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do a preview 2 days in advance, and then a hype video of my
hype video.
Combo.
Yeah. Just out your side of your house. You holding like a football or something. Or your press pass, like up like that or something. You're parking.
They spelled my name wrong again. That's
never
gonna happen. That's such a big like do better, play better.
Yeah, come on.
To get my name wrong on the press pass.
And you've been around for a while. That's
the best response you can have is misspelling Drinkwitz's name in a headline. I think that's what you should do. You're not going to get my name right. I'm not going to get your name right.
Yeah, there you go. Just come after him a little
Drinkwitz is printing the press passes himself.
He's taking over.
The ones he doesn't like, he misspells their name a little bit. Oh, that's good.
Okay, one last question for you, Calum. You talked about the Ryder Cup earlier. Any predictions?
Oh, here we go.
Who you got?
When was the last time America won on European soil? Were you guys even born? I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I think it's 2000. God, it might be back in the 90s actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up.
No, good looking US team. I think that probably just about every bit as good as Whistling Straits a couple of years ago. But I like who Europe's bringing to Rome. That's I'll be up early in the morning watching that.
Are Celtic in the Europa League?
Come on now, who won the league? Champions League.
Oh yeah, Champions League. What's their group? I forgot. Does it look good?
Feyenoord, Lazio, and Atletico Madrid.
Ooh, okay.
That's a fun one.
That'll be fun. Gotta be better than
Liverpool's group.
Oh my gosh, it's the France team that won the French Cup, that Belgian club like Saint Gilloise or whatever, and then I am blanking on the last team. Winnable, should be winnable. We're also a Bayer Leverkusen podcast now because Kenny got one of those random soccer jersey things in the mail, and it was a Bayer Leverkusen jersey. So they're our podcast team officially.
Interesting. Yeah, how are they doing?
They're doing great. They're like three out of three in the Bundesliga so far.
Yeah.
So huge start to the campaign. All right. Well, Calum, thank you so much for joining us. Again, previewing Middle Tennessee State. We'll see what the Tigers can bring. We'll see if Drinkwitz says anything more wild, and let us know how many questions you get about the uniforms in your next.
No more, please.
Anything to plug? You told us before you have a Brady Cook feature coming out soon. Plug away.
Yeah, tons of stuff coming out this week. I'll have a Brady Cook feature in the morning. I think it comes out tomorrow morning. I submitted it about 35 minutes ago, so hopefully it does. It's talk to his mom about his off-season surgery and just how he handled the quarterback battle. I think it's a pretty interesting story. It's pretty timely with him being named starter this week. So hopefully people head over to the Columbia Tribune to take a peek at that.
Everyone.
There's some good nuggets in there.
Yeah, everyone go check that out. Calum's been, like we said, on the Mizzou beat for a while, so he does a great job. He's mentored all three of us a little bit in our time writing, so we thank you for that as well. But everyone go watch on Saturday, see how Mizzou does